If you've ever tried to lose weight, you've likely run into two totally opposite ideas. On one side, people claim that processed food is so toxic it halts fat loss no matter how little you eat. On the other, you hear that a calorie is a calorie, meaning a 500-calorie donut is identical to a 500-calorie salad. Researchers wanted to see if there is any hidden biological difference between these two. If the total energy counts are exactly the same, does the level of processing actually change how much fat the body burns? To find the answer, scientists at the National Institutes of Health designed a rigorous study. They had volunteers live in a lab where every bite could be tracked, but allowed them to eat as much or as little as they wanted. The data revealed a massive gap. The group eating the ultra-processed diet ended up eating about 500 extra calories every single day compared to the group eating whole foods, and they did it completely by accident. It turns out that processed foods don't have a magic ability to stop fat loss. Instead, they are engineered to bypass your body's natural limits, making you overconsume energy without ever realizing it. To see how this happens, imagine two people eating 2,000 calories a day. One person eats only whole, unrefined foods, while the other eats a diet that is entirely ultra-processed. Your body spends a noticeable amount of energy just on the physical act of digestion. You can think of it like a processing tax, the energy your organs spend churning and breaking down what you eat. Researchers compared an 800-calorie whole grain sandwich to an 800-calorie processed sandwich. The body burns 64 extra calories just pulling the tough whole grain structure apart. The refined processed sandwich requires almost no effort, leaving more net energy for your body to store. Choosing whole foods gives you a built-in metabolic advantage. It's like a free workout for your digestive system that reduces the total amount of energy your body actually absorbs. That digestion tax explains a few calories, but it doesn't explain the 500-calorie gap we saw earlier. That comes down to texture. Because processed foods are soft enough to swallow almost immediately, we eat them much faster. When you eat that quickly, you can ingest hundreds of calories before your stomach has time to tell your brain that you've had enough. This happens because heavy processing destroys the sturdy architecture of a plant. Factories take those tough, interlocking cells and grind them into ultrafine powders and syrups, essentially pre-digesting the food for you. This graph shows how your fullness hormones react to these different structures. Broken down foods cause a quick spike that disappears almost instantly. But whole, intact fiber acts like a slow-release sponge in your gut, triggering a prolonged wave of a fullness hormone called GLP-1, keeping you full long after the meal is over. Processing physically removes your body's natural brake pedal. Without that steady signal of fullness, eating 500 extra calories a day becomes almost impossible to avoid. If you try to fix this by just eating smaller portions of processed snacks, you run into a different problem, the difference between losing weight and losing fat. When you cut energy without giving your body the right nutritional signals, it can go into survival mode. Instead of burning through its fat stores, it begins breaking down your valuable muscle tissue for fuel. Protein acts as a metabolic shield, forcing your body to burn fat while protecting muscle. But your brain also demands a daily protein quota. Because processed diets lack protein, you plow through massive calories of extra carbs and fats just to reach that target. Focusing on protein determines the quality of your weight loss, ensuring you burn through fat while keeping your metabolic engine running. You don't have to spend your life obsessively tracking every calorie if you focus on the biological quality of what you eat. First, prioritize intact fiber. Swap out refined flours for foods that still have their physical structure, like whole fruits, potatoes, beans, and rice. Second, secure your protein. Aim for a solid source of protein at every meal to protect your muscle and quiet those unconscious cravings. Third, choose foods that require chewing. Giving your gut the time it needs to signal your brain is the simplest way to stay in control of your appetite. You cannot change the math of how calories work, but by choosing unprocessed foods, you fix the internal signals that allow your body to manage that math for you.